Mr. Chief Justice, that's not an implausible way to look at this?
The problem is, all of these metaphors are inherently flawed. If anything, it's a clear sign that the judges, and indeed the law itself, hasn't caught up with the current state of technology. There's even an extended argument over the definition of copy, which sounds silly but is important legal nuance.
There's no reason it's a user-specific copy, is it? You're making 10,000 copies. It'd be much easier for you to just have to make one copy and everybody could get a copy. You don't need every viewer to have his own copy.
But that is the key distinction between video on demand and the kinds of equipment and technology that Aereo provides. You can't watch my copy. I can't download it.
It's just saying your copy is different from my copy.
Correct.
Well, that's the reason we call them copies, because they're the same. All I'm trying to get at, and I'm not saying it's outcome determinative or necessarily bad, I'm just saying your technological model is based solely on circumventing legal prohibitions that you don't want to comply with.
You could also
go, 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 go! Welcome to Cordkillers, your show that tries to report the intel from the front lines of the cord-cutting revolution so that you, my friends, can decide how best to be able to watch what you want, when you want, where you want, and on whatever device you want. And I'm Tom Merritt. I'm Brian Brushwood, and you know what? I feel like there's a division here. I feel like there are people who saw a thing.
Hate division.
And there are people who heard a thing. For those of you audio listeners, what you heard was actual audio from the Supreme Court's evaluation of the Aereo.
With a little commentary thrown in, but yeah,
thanks to our friends over at The Verge. But if you were watching video, you saw that The Verge took advantage of the resource kit made possible by John Oliver's show last week tonight. Is that how you would describe that? Because basically, they got a bunch of dogs, and you could go online and find dogs play acting as each of the Supreme Court justices, and they got footage of Chicken as a stenographer and all this stuff. The idea being there's no cameras allowed. So here's an open source toolkit for you guys. You can now reenact anything that you get from the Supreme Court using dogs, and it's amazing. I recommend watching all of the default footage to begin with.
I recommend it as well. I also recommend that people take advantage of that resource kit. I like that like resource kit metaphor of dog images and remix them to the audio from the morning stream with Scott Johnson, who's our guest today.
I wondered how you were going to get there, but you did a fine job there. Nice job.
Good to see you again, man.
It's great to be back on the show that at one time people thought I co-hosted with you.
Remember that back then?
Yeah.
Hey, we should real quick point out that we're going to do a slightly different program. We normally try to pack everything into 90 action-packed minutes, about an hour of news and commentary, followed by 30 to 40 minutes of spoiler in time. This time we're going to try to take all of the news, compact it into only 30 minutes, then do a real quick spoiler in time, 20, maybe 30 minutes, and then what happens next, Tom?
The winter movie draft is going to happen, which you will get as well, so you're not getting cheated on content, unless you're that one guy who hates the winter movie draft. So let's get into the primary target.
Yeah!
All right, big news today. Amazon Fire Stick. They are selling rifles to, no, it's actually the Fire TV Stick. Coming November 19th, available for pre-order today. It's halfway between the Chromecast and the Roku Stick. So the idea is it's got more than the Chromecast because it has onboard apps. It has 1 gigabyte of RAM. It has 8 gigabytes of storage. But it's better than the Roku because the Roku stick is $50 with all of that similar kind of stuff and actually not as good specs as far as like the dual core processor. And the Fire TV stick is $39. So for $4 more than the Chromecast, or $5 more, you get a Roku-like stick with apps and everything. But you don't have to pay that much for it. And if you're an Amazon Instant or an Amazon Prime member, for the first 2 days of pre-orders,
that's right now, by the way,
which is today and tomorrow, you can get it for $19.
Yeah. Wait. Say that last part again, because it sounded to me like I could either get 2 half-calf mocha lattes or a Fire Stick. That sounded like...
Yeah, you can either get 1 package of Jamon Iberico at Gelson's or an Amazon Fire TV Stick.
Wait, so I could get either a single Stone Temple Pilots Greatest Hits CD or an Amazon Fire Stick.
Is that right? Oh, that's amazing, actually. Yeah, so, I mean... This is an interesting gamble. Basically, Amazon is taking the Fire TV, they're putting it in a stick, they're selling the voice-activated remote separately. If that's your thing, if you're like, oh, I like Fire TV because of the voice thing, you get a remote with the Fire TV stick, but it's not the voice-activated one. You got to pay an extra $30 if you want the voice-activated remote.
So I was in every way the perfect demographic for this because I by myself had never had any interest in a Fire TV anything, but I have been sort of seduced by the Amazon Marketplace because Amazon still has Avatar: The Last Airbender. They have Blue's Clues, which Netflix doesn't have, and they have a bunch of the Curious George. So my toddler wants to be in there, but every time I got to turn on, this is how lazy I am. This is my one note. I got to turn on the Xbox. I got to go and I got to search, and I'm like, so many things.
Xbox on.
Yeah.
Xbox, Amazon.
Yeah, so many.
Come on, man. That's simple. Scott Johnson, you're laughing.
It's a no-brainer. I ordered 2 of them today. It's stupid easy for me to want to get this. 2 reasons. One, I'm way more into Prime lately because all that HBO stuff is awesome. I've been watching tons of stuff. But secondly, my wife fell in love with the Fire TV. She's totally up her alley. We're going to likely replace that upstairs with one of these, and she'll just use that thing. Then we'll put the Fire TV back downstairs, and then I'm going to get in my office another display and have this thing hooked up to it. So I'm getting 2 for the price of 1, and that's a hell of a deal. And Amazon's been impressing me lately with this stuff, so I'm kind of all in on this thing.
Did you pay extra for the voice control? Because I did. I went ahead and paid an extra $10.
No, I don't care about that. I'll
really?
just remote that thing up and
you can use the remote from your current Fire TV with it if you really wanted to.
Yeah, you could. I could move that around, I guess. And that thing works okay. It works pretty well. My biggest complaint actually about the Fire TV is that voice remote sticks sometimes. You're trying to do voice and it will you're holding it down, you like start talking and it quits before you're done talking. It's like the least working thing on the Fire TV. I'm not saying
it still doesn't work with everything, so yeah.
Sure. So but for me, for what I'm going to use these for, no brainer. We hardly ever use the voice.
So Scott, I'm sorry, Brian, is it just the price difference that had you pull the trigger on this versus the Roku? I mean, especially with the $19.
Yep. Absolutely. It was a case. It was an impulse buy for me. It was something that I've been using the Amazon ecosystem more lately, and thinking about what a pain in the butt it is with the with the Xbox 360, and then to have it show up in $19. Like, how do you not just click go? Also, it wasn't just the $19. It was the fact that you have 42 hours remain. Are you going to pull the trigger? I'm like, yes, I'm pulling the trigger. And then I immediately bought the voice upgrade as well. So I ended up spending $30, but I'm excited. I think it'll make it nice and easy for the kids.
And nobody knows how to get us to impulse buy like Amazon does. This is just kind of a brilliant move, and it's just a no-brainer. I mean,
you say that, but there's an awful lot of packaging advertising the Fire Phone, and not a lot of people buying the Fire Phone. So it's like they're not successful on everything, but hopefully this one will be.
There's a limit, right? If it's crap, you're going to have a harder time moving that thing. But this thing seems, I mean, I'm basing this purely on my Fire experience, the Fire TV experience. If it's as good, at least as good as that, and okay enough to be a little bit better than my Chromecast, which I also like, then it's easy.
All right.
And by the way, if you're one of those poor people that have to pay $39 for it, because you're not a Prime member, you will get a free month of Prime membership out of it, so you can try that out. And if you're not a Netflix subscriber, you get a free month of Netflix, Amazon says, which is true for anybody.
Oh, man, I think about that real quick, and I know we got to move on, but I wasn't even thinking about the reverse angle, because this is the kind of thing where it's like, $40, that's almost a deal. I don't know. They're like, wait, but then if I just join this thing that I've been kind of thinking about joining anyway to get all the content and the 2-day shipping free and all this stuff. So what if this is the lost leader to pull more people into the Prime ecosystem?
Oh, yeah. No, I 100% believe that this is a loss leader in many different ways, and that's one of them. Yeah.
Right on, man.
Hey, you know what? 2004 was kind of a hard year. That was the year that Tech TV ended, and it was tough. It was tough for me. A lot of things happened that year. But you know what? Forget 2004 the year, because 2004 now means awesome things to me, because it's the number of patrons we have supporting Cordkillers, Brian.
Oh my gosh, 2004 was the year I had a failed pilot at Court TV. And now look at us. 10 years later, we're sitting here with 2004 bosses. Brian's griping about the TV work that he's doing. And we have an independent, successful news podcast that is entirely possible thanks to the generosity of 2004 wonderful best friends of ours. And by the way, I want to thank everyone who writes us at cordkillers@gmail.com and says, "Hi, Brian and Tom, it's your boss here." Because that is exactly how you should feel, and that is exactly how we feel about you. Thank you to our patrons. Patreon.com/Cordkillers. Join the revolution.
Y'all are the best. Let's get into signals intelligence.
Yeah.
All right, just a couple things in here for you guys. 2 new Netflix originals have been, well, one was already announced, but it's been confirmed and a teaser trailer put out, and the other has been announced. We knew about this one called Bloodline, but now we actually have a teaser trailer. It's Todd Kessler, Glenn Kessler, and Daniel Zellman, the creators of Damages, doing this one for Netflix. It's got Coach Taylor in the teaser saying, "We're not bad people. We did a bad thing." 13 episodes coming March 2015. You guys in?
Yeah, I mean, the answer is yes to everything. The only Netflix original that I don't think I've watched is Hemlock Grove, just because it's like they put on Front Street the fact that it's gore porn, and I'm just not into that. I will watch any of their originals. It's they have an exquisite reputation for quality by now, right?
My gore porn involves an ex-vice president, but that's a different story for a different day. I'm really excited about it. I'm a giant fan of Kyle Chandler. I think he's great. I thought FNL was one of the best shows ever made, and I like him in everything he's done since. He has a really understated, awesome role in not 8mm. That's the Nicolas Cage one. Anyway, Super 8. That's what I was going to say. He plays the dad of the kid in there, and he's really good in there. I think the guy's got range. He's the number one reason I even give a crap, and they have a good track record. So far, Netflix hasn't failed me, and so put him and them together, why the heck not?
I mean, you realize, I haven't seen Hemlock Grove, but, like, the closest thing to a dud they've had is, I guess, Lilyhammer. And I liked the first 2/3 of Lilyhammer, and then they killed that guy, and I was like, well, this is dark now, and I lost interest. Everything else they've done has been exquisite.
Lilyhammer's even had good reviews, I think. I don't even know if it's a dud.
Well, no. I mean, the closest thing in I'm talking about aesthetically, artistically for me. It's like everything they do is great.
For you. Okay, gotcha.
Yeah.
What about F is for Family, an animation by Bill Burr, executive producer, along with executive producer Vince Vaughn. It's about a family set in the 1970s. Bill Burr saying this is definitely drawn from my experience, and everybody working on it feels the same way. It's going to have voice acting from Laura Dern, Justin Long, and it's coming in 2015, although if you want a little Bill Burr earlier than that, his new stand-up special, I'm Sorry You Feel That Way, premieres on Netflix December 5th.
You had me at Bill Burr. I like him enough that it's like I'll watch. Even if it sucks, I will be there with pom-poms saying, you seem like the kind of guy who's about to start a 20-year legacy of incredible comedy and storytelling. Yay! Good job on having your own original series.
Yeah, he's awesome. He's one of the few comedians that actually makes me laugh anymore with this stand-up. I listen to his podcast every Monday. It's just him talking on a mic for an hour and a half. You feel like he's like testing material with you, which is like a weird kind of behind-the-scenes kind of feeling. He's awesome. Bill Burr's great. He's also kind of humble. He knows who he is. He could probably do circles around most comedians these days. So I feel like this is going to be a really cool opportunity. The interesting thing will be if they keep this kid-friendly or not. I'm guessing not. Because no way Bill Burr does anything. Yeah. There's not a chance. But I'm looking forward to it. It's going to be good.
All right, let's gear it up, ladies and gentlemen.
Man, this is
Put on your gear.
This is a fast show, man. Our life is in fast forward.
Is it too fast for you, Brian? Do you need to slow down?
Is there any gear that'll do that?
No.
Oh, well then, no, it's perfect.
Roku is planning to file an IPO in the United States. And if you don't know what that means, it's an initial public offering of stock. They've actually, according to the Wall Street Journal anyway, selected bankers, which is like the major step. That's like giving a girl your ring. Like, we're definitely doing this. And it will probably be a confidential IPO because the Roku makes less than $1 billion annual. And if you make less than $1 billion annual under a new law, you can do it confidentially. So we won't get to know a lot of things about them before the IPO like you do usually. However, last month, the company did announce the new Roku-powered program, an initiative aimed at helping strike direct partnerships with pay TV providers. And they've done some broadcast TV deals in the past. Dish has a channel on there. BBC has a bunch of channels on there. The Information reported that Roku pulled in $190 million in revenue in 2013. If you're wondering how much they do make, Roku says it's near profitability with that number. So getting a bunch of money from stock, which will about double what they got from investment capital last year, making this play to like, hey, broadcasters, we're your friend. All over the top doesn't have to be your enemy. And heading towards 2015, is this the box that unites the two worlds?
I mean, I don't know if this is even their play. I mean, they're sort of what strikes me about Roku is that they're quiet and humble, which is why I like that they're doing this IPO this way. To me, out of everything we've seen in the cord-cutting revolution, all I know is that Roku is the only box that my parents-in-law bought, right? And there's something about the way they're marketing it. There's something about their simplicity and their quietness, and I assume cost-effectiveness because they're hitting those sweet price points.
They're not being quiet about their IPO because they're humble. They're being quiet because the law lets them do that, and that's just what you're going to do.
Okay, no,
don't forget, they're the ones that people were complaining about their salespeople calling up and pressure tactic them into joining their partner program.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. That does undo. But I do feel like it is a decision. Okay, let me put it this way. We have seen in this space a lot of bluff and bluster. We don't see that very often in the public side from Roku, and this seems like a smart way for them to get a little more cash. The question is whether or not they're gonna get ahead of the curve, and whether or not their box is relevant. Are they going to be better as being integrated with smart TVs, or are they going to get outpaced by $19 Fire Sticks or Chromecasts or?
Well, let me put it this way, and Scott, I'd like to get your reaction. If Roku next year is the box for Sony's thing, I mean, obviously the PS4 is going to be the box for that, but let's say there's a smaller play. More likely, Roku could be the box for the Verizon play. Definitely, because they already have a relationship, Roku could be the box for the Dish online-only play. If suddenly it's like, hey, want cable television without having to pay an extra fee to Comcast? Buy a Roku. I think that could be pretty compelling, no?
This is what this is. I think you have the right taste of this. This is basically Roku saying, look, if we are going to act, now is when we act, because everything's heating up. Everybody's got some kind of set-top box solution. Our name is getting pushed further down the road every time somebody brings up something new from Amazon or something new from somebody else. Brand new consoles in play. All these things affect their market. So they are playing a strategy here, which is play nice with these with these networks and with these content providers. And what ultimately could end up happening is they could end up being prominent because they made these relationships and nobody else did. Otherwise, they're going to become the U.S. robotics / Creative Labs nomad, or name the product that got usurped by somebody else. They're going to end up being innovators who died on the vine because somebody else who was bigger came along and stole their thunder. So I think this is a good move for them, and maybe
haven't we already seen that with the Boxy box? Like, Boxy was going to be Boxy was the old Roku's the new Boxy. So it's like, are they reinventing themselves and then going to suddenly vanish, or what?
No, I think what's going to happen is they need. It's like, what's it like? It's like anything where, like, when Apple came in and just ate every other, Diamond Rios just died as soon as
Diamond
the iPod
Rio,
came out.
yes.
Just killed them, and I had one. I thought that thing was awesome, but it wasn't as cool as the iPod, so there was very little they could do, and that is the battle that they face. So it is smart for them. If all these other guys are going to be all staunch about who has, rights to whatever content, have them be open to working with these different people. If they bite, meaning those networks and so on, if they bite, this could be huge for them. And honestly, it's their only way out of obscurity. Otherwise, not a lot of people know. I guess that's what I was trying to say earlier, is whatever it is they're doing, they are the least obscure of all set-top box solutions to people not in this room. If you go down the street, you're telling me anyone's heard of a Chromecast before they've heard of a Roku? You're telling me anyone's heard of a Fire Stick before they've heard of a Roku?
What about Apple TV?
Apple TV, I know the word Apple. They have a TV there. I heard they're working on a TV. Is that finally out?
I think more people know about an Apple TV than a Roku, and I think more people know that when one of these other companies decides to really go all in and quit making it a quote-unquote hobby, that somebody named Roku's in trouble. I think they know that. That's all I'm saying. I think Roku knows that they're.
I don't know. I think you're underestimating their red state market position.
I have a way to settle this, and that's by sending everyone to scamstuff.com right now.
Nope, don't go to Scam Stuff. You're forbidden to go from Scam Stuff. As a matter of fact, if you type in the words SCAMSTUFF.com, I'll punch you in the face and I'll say, you need to go to patreon.com/weird things. Because Weird Things is my favorite podcast that we get to do. If you've ever listened, it's me, the fantastic Andrew Main, Justin Robert Young, all discussing, of all things, weird things. We talk about everything from rogue artificial intelligences to what the future of mankind will be with transhumanism, Bigfoot, Yetis, aliens, goblins. If you like
Sprinting
weird
Bubble Boys.
stuff, yes. Sprinting Bubble Boys. You tuned in for that. We spent a half hour talking about this guy who was an ultra marathoner who wanted to run in a little hamster wheel to Bermuda, which is like 1,000 miles away. It's amazing, and we've only treated it as a hobby, much like the Apple TV, for 5 years. But now we'd like to make it a real gig. So if you head on over to patreon.com/weirdthings, you can get us hiring a full-time actual producer that'll get you new episodes every single week.
Let's start the front lines.
Yeah, both of them.
We do. We have two front lines. We have a European and an Asian theater. Actually, we don't really.
Hey, man, I got great news.
Comcast lost 81,000 video customers in Q3, which is its best result in 7 years. But no one's cord cutting. A year ago, Comcast lost 127,000 video customers. The company also added 315,000 broadband subscribers, bringing it pretty close to parity now. They have 22.38 million video subscribers and 21.59 million broadband subscribers. So pretty soon that number is going to have broadband passing video. Company increased its overall customers by 82,000.
I mean, so we're all agreed, like, they have a roadmap at this point. They know that cable's going away as we know it. They know that we're enough years into this. I'll take an extension, by the way. We're enough years into this that they see the transition and they see, well, we can offer premium fiber optic cable or whatever. We can get that same $140 a month that we always get. We'll just rejigger our partnerships and work out our content whatevers. And they'll still be on the tit, and we'll still own them, right?
Yes, on the tit, like you say. I would say this. They remind me of, well, they're like any company who's being smart. I mean, hate them or love them. They're like Netflix. Netflix used to send discs to your door and one day said, you know, what's probably going to happen? This may be a bit of an out there idea, but I bet you people are going to stream video to their house a lot. Maybe we should be at the forefront of that. And they essentially annihilated all the competition that way, including latecomers like Redbox, who came and went without anyone even noticing. This is just them with a long-term idea that, hey, broadband will overtake video subscriptions at some point. I think they've always known this, and probably even known that whatever video and entertainment, whatever form that takes, will just run over their broadband. So
I mean,
this is just smart business to me.
That's the weird part, is like, we're joking that they're celebrating, but they have every reason to celebrate. They've got a plan, and it's going according to plan, right?
I agree.
They're the Cylons.
Yeah, well, they didn't have a plan. I don't care what they say. Hey, man, Nielsen and Adobe are launching a measurement system across internet-connected devices. This includes desktops, smartphones, tablets, game consoles, and over-the-top boxes. The system will launch in 2015 with ESPN, Turner Broadcasting, Sony's Crackle, Viacom, Univision already signed up. It's called Nielsen's Digital Content Ratings, powered by Adobe, and uses Adobe Analytics and Adobe's primetime TV delivery platform. This sounds dumb when I read it, but I bet this is an important first step, right?
The two important things to pay attention there, in my opinion, are ESPN, Viacom, and Crackle, all using the same platform. It's kind of been a dream for people to have Nielsen provide real across-device ratings for internet video. So I think that people are pretty excited about this. It's hard to get a read on what the industry thinks of it, but I think people are pretty hopeful.
Well, and I'll take an extension because I'm really fascinated by this because it's a big problem. We've talked in the past about how Nielsen ratings, the only way for them to count is not only that you watch a thing, because to be honest, it doesn't matter if you watch a thing. What matters if you watch a thing within a certain time window and see the exact same ads that everyone else has. Are there any concessions on the content side to make sure that they happen, or they're building a new, completely separate metric that'll have its own importance in the industry?
Yeah, this is a new metric, but it's basically saying we're using Adobe to be our technology provider here. So this is going to be taking the best of internet metrics and analytics and combining it with the best of ratings delivery, which Nielsen is very experienced in, and giving you a really usable metric that you can use to sell ads.
It's also really good to see Adobe involved in this way. It's easy to just go, ain't them the people that make Photoshop? It's easy to count them out of big stuff like this, things that seem to have, measurably nothing to do with their normal business. But Adobe's got what it takes. These platforms are strong. This is an attempt, like these other companies we're talking about, to extend their brand, to create new reasons why they should exist in the future, where maybe not everyone is using Photoshop anymore or whatever changes. So this is, I think it's a good partnership, and it'll be interesting to see if Nielsen, they're the ones that seem like the grandpa in this. Can they keep up? And
dude, by the way, I think you sell Adobe short by calling them the Photoshop gang. Like since they moved to Adobe Creative Cloud, like they're one of the dominant features. Once Final Cut blew itself up by making all the professionals hate it, Premiere becomes the content creation platform. Adobe, Flash Media Encoders, how all the online video is done. Adobe's in a dominant position. So
well, and this has nothing to do with any of that.
This
is Adobe Analytics, which doesn't even really have to do with Flash Video. This is Adobe. There's a part of Adobe that's really good at counting and crunching numbers, and they've been doing it. In fact, Haterade points out they've been doing great analytics on reading, and that's going to be part of this. Like they'll actually have rankings on what text you read alongside the video. So this is going to be very interesting to watch.
Creative Cloud, for the record, is awesome. I freaking love it. I bought in day one, and I will never look back. But it is interesting to see them jump into new areas of just data management is a weird thing to associate with Adobe's name.
And I guess that's all I'm saying is like they have dominated the creative space, and it goes not just from the content creation, but to the content distribution, and now to content consumption.
Yep. Let's see what's under surveillance.
Shall we?
Shall we? So, my wife's been out of town, which means that I have caught up on all my shows. So Haven still back to being awesome. Absolutely loving Haven this year. Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. couldn't say greater things about it. Enjoying the heck out of it. Star Wars Rebels is okay. It's very Star Wars, and I like it. So I've only seen 3 episodes, obviously. I'm interested to see where it goes. Arrow and The Flash, I'm impressed by what CW has been able to do there. We'll talk about Transparent. We'll talk about The Shield. We'll talk about Fargo in Spoiler in Time. And I've also been catching up on Season 3 of Continuum on Netflix, and I'm enjoying that too.
So Penny and I finished watching The Winter Soldier, my second lap, her first. I had to rent it a second time, and again, this is what's so great about cutting the cord. Didn't even feel bad. Wasn't even mad, bro. Paid twice to rent that thing, and because it was only $3 each time, it was awesome. We also have gone on a bender to get, so to speak, to get caught up on The Legend of Korra. I was really down on Season 2 of The Legend of Korra because it was all just magic, and what I liked about it was the scientific application of bending that they did. It is all back. Season 3, so freaking good. The bad guys are so scary. The characters are awesome. Everything's great. Watch Korra. Watch Korra. We'll talk about Fargo and Transparent, like you said. Twin Peaks will also. I have words for you about Twin Peaks, Tom.
Scott Johnson, what have you been watching?
I have been watching The Sopranos as if I was on fire. I didn't see it during its original run.
You just stand there screaming, begging, like, let this end. God, the pain.
Give me water, something. That show, I missed its run. I never had HBO before. I didn't think it was worth the money while this show was in its heyday. And once I got started, I couldn't stop. And it's actually kind of been responsible for some bad sleep habits and some other stuff because I have gone from Season 1, Episode 1 to Season 6 almost done in about 3 weeks or something. So just tearing it up. And that's all I've had time for. I've really not seen much else with everything else I've going on. So a lot of the stuff you're listing are things I'm all behind on and I want to see. I have been keeping up with Arrow. Watched that with Kim, and we love that. Still haven't seen The Flash, but I'm stoked about all these. Everything you listed here is stuff I want to watch.
Scott, are you have you watched The Wire?
Wire's next, dude. It's next.
Yes. Okay, that's what I was about to say, because now that's all in the Prime ecosystem you're in. Here's what's going to happen. You're going to watch, you're going to finish The Sopranos. You're going to watch The Wire. And then I'm going to insist that you read the amazing book. I did it on audiobook called Difficult Men, about the folks who essentially transformed television in the late 90s, early 2000s by introducing this shorter form, arc-driven, non-procedural storytelling. It's amazing.
Difficult Men. It sounds like a book about two uncles I have, but I'll check it.
Yeah, it's about the creators of The Wire, The Sopranos, the Shield, and Breaking Bad. It's about those individuals and how they transformed the way we watch television.
That's
Really
amazing.
good.
Yeah, I've loved every second of it, so I
Breaking
can't wait.
All right, movie draft is coming up. Brian, I think we should read 2 dispatches, though, before we go. What do you think?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. Real quick, I wish I could read all of this. I don't have time. I just want to mention that I've got to get there's some back and forth. As you guys know, I read and try to respond to all of the emails that we get. But Josh sent me an email taking me to task for what I said was a waste of bandwidth, the way our current over-the-air transmission happens. This idea that we're just sending crap out and people, please tune in. Not enough people use it, and we don't have enough channels or whatever. And he really did his homework. He sent me this amazing PDF that we'll put in the show notes, but it actually breaks down all of the spectrum allocation and for what it's all used for. And he points out that the biggest allocation of spectrum goes to the AM radio. And to which I pointed out, well, that's good because AM, where if you have a good antenna and it's on a clear night, there's pretty much not a single frequency you can't hear something happening somewhere. My problem is in the 80-plus channels that we have from the VHS or VHF to the UHF spectrum, there's maybe 7 in any given area, and also nobody's watching them because they get those same channels on cable. But at any rate, he gave a very, very well thought out argument, and I just want to give a shout out to Josh and encourage you guys. I'm going to post it in the chat right now, and we'll put it in the show notes.
David said, if we end up paying a la carte for our programming, then our money will be going directly to the channels we care about instead of being divided across the hundreds of channels that we don't care about. I wonder if that would make better programming or fewer commercials.
I think that is a case of the rich getting richer in that case.
It may be, but I think it's a point that people don't bring up enough, which is like, hey, if it's a la carte, even if it's not saving you money, you're putting your money towards the things you support versus spreading it up. In fact, I've heard the reverse argument made by cable companies and by broadcast networks saying, we won't be able to launch these newer networks that you don't like if we can't just force you to give us money for them. So,
well, but keep in mind also, there's a reason we like, okay, yes, a Chinese super buffet is, by its very definition, an inefficient way for you to get what you want. If you were smart, you would order individual dishes, but there is a dollar value to walking in, seeing everything, and knowing you can have whatever you want. People seem to like that. That's the reason that we like the fact that all of the HBO catalog is coming to Amazon Prime, and we want an ecosystem where we can do that. So I think it's fine that we do that, and maybe it even is still cable. I don't even mind that.
Well, the thing, just real quick, I would say that the part of the problem with the a la carte system, and the thing people don't think about, and I never hear this being brought up, but I am 100% sure that a lot of these advertising deals that certain networks score with certain advertisers are based on a certain spread over a certain number of channels. It's not just NBC, but it's little side deal connected with that contract that lets it also appear on Sci-Fi and Lifetime and other channels that the network might own. All of that stuff gets hosed if you start chopping things up and doing it a la carte. I am not supporting a non-a la carte system. I just think that those things never get talked about. Those deals are being made all the time. I'm sure of that. So you can't just uproot it without having at least some fallout from that.
Yeah, well, no, the networks see that as another way to increase incremental advertising. You're absolutely right.
Yep.
And that, my friends, is this episode of Cordkillers. You can find us on the web at cordkillers.com. We are available all the time there. And, of course, you can watch us do this show live on Mondays, generally at 4 p.m. Pacific, 7 p.m. Eastern Time. Cordkillers@gmail.com. We'll see you soon.
Thank you, Scott Johnson.
Yo, thanks, man.
Doom, 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 doom.